Adolescence, which came out a while ago in 2004. I'm also going to read from New Pony, which is a brand new anthology. It just came out at AWP, which was a lot of fun for the 8,000 packed in people who went there. And then I'm going to read from some new work. I want to begin at the beginning of begin, and just begin, voice beginning to rise, beginning to just voice the beginning of, or beginning to rain as now snow, beginning and to start is just the same, low, less, beggarly, in French, bégay. Like now, begin becomes to begin is to speak, is simply to begin, it is here is on the tip lip, beginning to, or trembling, or well, no, begin is held, hold back at the edge of beginning, and then sometimes a body is only a body and is necessary. Sometimes only the body is. Sometimes my hands hold tight so that because of money or mood, a strange sore in the throat, sex no longer enticing, too much plastic, war in Africa, stagnancy in the long hours alone, the family, the lover, drugs on a whim, fear of continuing, desire to combat, revenge on world, others, revenge on self, another's death, too many cubicles, a lack of ice, nightmares, the ozone layer melting, because it is a popular way to go, to hold up traffic, the wind over the bridge calls you to the edge, and then the curiosity, would it work? Exhaustion and illness, desire to be in a coma, sleep, bad news in a telegram, denture, some abstract sense of loss, of missing, a need for drama, a need for closure, because the cat no longer wants to cuddle, because you lost your job, house, car, son, home, country, language, vertigo, because you forgot your dose of Prozac or lithium. You've seen aliens and no one believes you, because no one can help, because filling out one more form is too much effort, because of the parking tickets, the aspirin prices, the mail taking too long for the bills, for the contacts, because you are going blind or you hurt all the time and the doctors can do nothing, because it is always your own responsibility, your own silence, your own sexual preferences that you fear, because you lack education or are too educated, because your nose is too long, hips too large, eyes the wrong color, clothes too outmoded, because it seems easier or harder, because the sun hasn't shone in weeks, because because the sun hasn't shone in weeks, because you're late again and can't face the music, because you're going deaf, because the cyst turned out to be cancer, because the kids got caught in a fight at school, because you are still living at home, because it is Tuesday or Saturday or Christmas, or the first day of spring is coming, because of the noise, the static, the explosion, because it's something no one could explain. And when I hold back, when I lean, sometimes it returns. A sense not totally foreign, something missed, a reason, premeditated, whimsical. The body in flight remains in flight. There is a point of no return. Caught mid-flight, the body pieced back, the body in. What I can't undo, not my doing. And your hand, feather-like palm, a leaf against my cheek, a tickling as above, over the tightrope. The toes' balance is lost, pitched, white line in darkness. And that's from a long poem called What Holds the Body. I write in long series. The difficulty is, of course, then, what do I read from those? So I'm going to read a couple things from different series. One of the fun things about this anthology is that the idea behind it was that you take somebody's work and then you write something off of it in another way. And I started with a friend, Sandy Florian, a couple years ago, a site called Rewords, where people reword each other. So they put up a poem and somebody writes another poem off of it, or many poems, you end up with strings of poems. And so when I saw that New Pony, which is from Horseless Press, was looking for poems that were going to do that kind of thing, I looked in some of the writers that they were asking people to reword, and did a poem off of a poet named Nate Pritz. And Nate Pritz runs a magazine which has a bunch of letters and dashes in it, HGM, you see some nods. It's a wonderful magazine. So I took his poem and I wrote a poem of my own called Spring's Constellates in Snow. And he did a series of different season poems. And I do live in Paris, but what was great about reading Nate's work and why I decided to play off of his poem was that it took me back to my Iowa origins, where I grew up, and the sort of nature of here. And it's really fun to be back in the spring. Normally I come in the dead of winter, and I always think, of course I don't come back to live. But now I'm back in the spring, and I think, gosh, it's kind of nice. Why did I leave? So I thought I would read this because it really just came out last week. It's much more romantic than things I'm writing now, which I'm kind of excited about, which I think is thanks to Nate Pritz. And it's from his poem called Spring Psalter, which you can find online. It's a lovely poem. Spring constellates in snow, and there are sections, so I'll just pause between the sections. I leave ragged, full of cloud and dusk surrounding our stifled want. Vestiges limit us, marooned in mini-names or the outside machinery, blue-green tent, of what vast semblance our hands carried conditions. Capillaries you left full of snow. Now let me reconcile the angles, let them discomfort spring, involuntary twitch, slow on the inside, switch to hope, curdling or curling, fingers, gaze mingling inward wisps. Thunderstruck transparent, din's loud echo, echoing thin to clouds somewhere. Lily's waspish slip of voice paper, her name shatters put away. Winter dead corn, a field, lies asleep against the backyard fence, whether I believe in it or not. Many elements crawl out over the mint. Plant each leaf on its own, harboring a tale, so still this dawn you'd think we were deeper into the year, or love. Heart, I submit to the program entered into, these indicatives. Arteries dark throb thrall, to proclaim, disclaim me. Your dawning voice dissipates into hustled whiffs, light, twig half sunk in spring, mud permissions. My voice branching wouldn't reach to or breach to harness, harp players' bluegrass notes of outer, still fragile layer. Am I am spliced, the weak subject am. Scattered, kaput, gone like a song, a compelling, compulsive, wind on the wing, watermarked slice of paper with our name written on it every year. It's the same damn long tally of causes and reasons dispersed. Engines, refuted heart need, kneeling, needed through which a flimsy curtain spies, separates. This time of ice, or maybe that slow crawl of spring, ants over the garden, calamity, bulbs silently planted, leaf. Not I, as must, as you, as throughout, or we then, in finally leave to leaflets, to leafing, take over the oven-like dazzling rise nature of transit, our exotic points, echo, voice, echo, dissipates into hustled light, cloud whiffs, gray morning, light sun-thrown, hurtle into the you of the useful the used grounding away from, or of, a graceful passage over, one spontaneous something, discomfort, involuntary breach. Where do our wires plug, and into what where then might wholly dissemble this embarkation,